Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, with your mind racing a million miles per hour, replaying every conversation, every decision, and every mistake you've ever made? You're not alone. In fact, research suggests that up to 70% of adults experience some form of overthinking, and it's not just a minor annoyance. It can be a serious obstacle to happiness, productivity, and even mental health. But what if I told you that there's a way to break free from the cycle of overthinking, and it's backed by the latest findings in neuroscience? According to Dr. Matthew Lieberman, a renowned neuroscientist at UCLA, our brains are wired to respond to threats, whether they're real or imagined. This is because our amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure in the brain, is constantly on the lookout for potential dangers, and it can't distinguish between a genuine threat and a hypothetical one. So, when we start to overthink, our amygdala goes into overdrive, releasing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which can make us feel anxious, jittery, and even panicked. But here's the thing. Our brains are also incredibly malleable, and we have the power to rewire them. In a study published in the journal Neuroimage, researchers found that people who practiced mindfulness meditation showed significant reductions in amygdala activity, which in turn reduced their stress levels and improved their overall well-being. This is because mindfulness helps us to become more aware of our thoughts, rather than getting caught up in them. By observing our thoughts from a distance, we can learn to recognize when we're starting to overthink and take steps to calm our minds. One of the key strategies for overcoming overthinking is to practice what's called cognitive reappraisal. This involves reappraising negative thoughts and reframing them in a more positive or neutral light. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to do this," you could reappraise that thought as, "I'll learn and grow from this experience, and I'll do my best." According to Dr. James Gross, a psychologist at Stanford University, cognitive reappraisal can be an incredibly effective way to reduce stress and anxiety, and it's been shown to activate the prefrontal cortex, a region of the brain involved in executive function and decision-making. In a study published in the journal Psychological Science, Dr. Gross and his colleagues found that people who practiced cognitive reappraisal showed significant reductions in stress and anxiety, and even showed improvements in their relationships and overall well-being. This is because cognitive reappraisal helps us to break free from the cycle of negative thinking and to focus on the present moment. By doing so, we can reduce our stress levels, improve our mood, and even boost our self-esteem. But how do we actually practice cognitive reappraisal? It's not always easy, especially when we're in the midst of an overthinking episode. That's why it's so important to develop a daily practice of mindfulness and self-reflection. By taking just a few minutes each day to focus on our breath, our thoughts, and our emotions, we can start to develop a greater awareness of our inner experience. We can start to recognize when we're slipping into overthinking mode and take steps to calm our minds. In fact, research has shown that even brief periods of mindfulness practice can have a significant impact on our brain function and behavior. In a study published in the journal Social Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience, researchers found that people who practiced mindfulness for just 10 minutes a day showed significant improvements in their emotional regulation and cognitive function. This is because mindfulness helps us to develop a greater sense of self-awareness, which is essential for overcoming overthinking. So, what does this mean for us in our daily lives? How can we start to apply the principles of cognitive reappraisal and mindfulness to break free from the cycle of overthinking? It's not about suppressing our thoughts or avoiding our problems, but about learning to approach them with a sense of curiosity and openness. By doing so, we can start to develop a greater sense of confidence and self-trust, and we can begin to live more fully in the present moment. And that's where the real magic happens, because when we're not caught up in our thoughts, we can start to tap into our creativity, our intuition, and our deepest desires. We can start to see the world in a new light, and to approach life with a sense of wonder and excitement. But, as we explore this idea further, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly is the relationship between our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior? And how can we use this knowledge to overcome overthinking once and for all? Which is a question that we'll delve into in more detail as we continue to explore the fascinating world of neuroscience and the human mind, and examine the latest research on the topic, including a study by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, which found that our emotions play a much bigger role in our decision-making process than we previously thought, and that by learning to manage our emotions, we can gain more control over our thoughts and behaviors, and live a more fulfilling life. But that's a topic for the next part of our discussion, as we continue to uncover the secrets of the human brain and the latest findings in neuroscience, and explore the many ways in which we can apply this knowledge to improve our lives and overcome the challenges that we face, including the challenge of overthinking, which is a topic that we'll continue to explore in more depth as we move forward. As we've explored the science behind overthinking, it's clear that our brains are wired to analyze and evaluate information, but sometimes this can lead to an endless loop of rumination. To break free from this cycle, let's dive deeper into the neural mechanisms that drive overthinking. Research by neuroscientist Dr. Matthew Lieberman has shown that our brains have a default mode network, which is responsible for introspection and self-reflection. However, when this network is overactive, it can lead to excessive thinking and worrying. For instance, imagine you're lying in bed at night, and your mind starts racing about a conversation you had with a friend earlier that day. You replay the conversation over and over, thinking about what you could have said differently and what your friend might have meant by their response. This is your default mode network in overdrive, and it's not only exhausting but also unproductive. To calm this network, Dr. Lieberman suggests practicing mindfulness meditation, which can help reduce mind wandering and increase focus. Another study by researcher Dr. Emma Sapala found that individuals who practiced mindfulness meditation had reduced activity in the amygdala, a region of the brain associated with anxiety and fear. This is significant because it shows that by training our brains to be more present and focused, we can actually reduce our tendency to overthink and worry. For example, let's say you're getting ready for a big presentation at work, and you start to feel anxious about how it will go. Instead of letting your mind spiral out of control, you take a few minutes to practice deep breathing and focus on the present moment. This can help calm your nervous system and reduce your tendency to overthink. So, what can you do today to start breaking the cycle of overthinking? One practical step is to practice self-compassion. When you catch yourself overthinking, try to reframe your thoughts in a kinder, more gentle way. Instead of beating yourself up over a perceived mistake, remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes, and that it's okay not to be perfect. For instance, if you're replaying a conversation in your head and thinking about what you could have done differently, try to reframe your thoughts by saying to yourself, "I did the best I could in that moment," and that's something to be proud of. Another step is to engage in physical activity. Exercise has been shown to reduce rumination and improve mood, likely due to the release of endorphins and other neurotransmitters that promote feelings of well-being. So, whether it's going for a walk, doing a few jumping jacks, or practicing yoga, getting your body moving can help calm your mind and reduce overthinking. For example, if you're feeling stuck in a cycle of negative thinking, try taking a short walk outside and focusing on the sensation of your feet touching the ground. This can help shift your focus away from your thoughts and onto the present moment. A third step is to practice journaling or writing down your thoughts. Sometimes, getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper can help you process and release them, rather than letting them swirl around in your mind. Try setting a timer for 10 to 15 minutes and writing down whatever comes to mind, without editing or censoring yourself. This can help you gain clarity and perspective on your thoughts, and can even help you identify patterns and themes that might be contributing to your overthinking. For instance, if you're struggling with anxiety, writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you identify triggers and develop a plan to manage them. Finally, try to reframe your thinking by focusing on the present moment, rather than getting caught up in worries about the past or future. When you find yourself overthinking, ask yourself, what can I control right now? Or what is the next step I need to take? This can help you stay grounded and focused, rather than getting caught up in abstract thinking or hypothetical scenarios. For example, if you're worrying about a project that's due next week, try to break it down into smaller, manageable tasks and focus on what you can accomplish today. This can help you stay focused and motivated, rather than getting overwhelmed by the big picture. In addition to these strategies, it's also important to recognize that overthinking can be a deeply ingrained habit, and that it may take time and practice to break the cycle. However, by being patient and compassionate with yourself, and by incorporating these strategies into your daily life, you can start to develop new habits and thought patterns that will serve you better in the long run. Remember, the goal isn't to stop thinking altogether, but to learn to think more intentionally and productively, and to cultivate a greater sense of calm and clarity in your daily life. As you work to develop these new habits, you may also want to explore other resources that can support you on your journey. For example, you might consider reading books or articles on mindfulness and self-compassion, or seeking out online communities or support groups where you can connect with others who are working to overcome similar challenges. By taking a holistic approach to your mental health, and by being willing to try new things and seek out new resources, you can develop a more nuanced and compassionate understanding of yourself and can cultivate the skills and strategies you need to thrive. In conclusion, breaking the cycle of overthinking requires a combination of self-awareness, self-compassion, and intentional practice. By understanding the neural mechanisms that drive overthinking, and by incorporating simple, yet powerful strategies into your daily life, you can start to reduce your tendency to overthink and cultivate a greater sense of calm and clarity. So, if you're ready to take the first step towards a more peaceful and productive mind, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos on psychology and personal growth, and check out the link in our description to get your copy of Atomic Habits by James Clear, a book that will help you build good habits and break bad ones, and start achieving your goals with less stress and more ease. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.